We are live, officially broadcasting only on onedealaway.com/live. My name is Nev. This is Money Matters, and we, of course, broadcast every single morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or as I like to call it, New York time for all of my international viewers, that might be a bit easier to do the math with. So today we actually have all kinds of incredible news. We're going to be talking a lot about crypto. So as you know, as we get towards the weekend, we start talking about our cryptocurrencies, what's going on in those markets. So we're going to be taking a look at some of the news that are happening inside the crypto world, and there's quite a bit of news. Of course, we do have some traditional news to share with you, such as Trump banning TikTok and what is the story behind that. There's also some additional bans that we're going to be mentioning today, and we're going to be looking at unemployment numbers. Of course, we're going to be talking a bit more about what's going on in the markets, taking a look at the price, and then over the weekend, we're going to take a deep dive into crypto. So let's get started and let's do this. And good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Friday to you. I have to tell you, Wednesday I thought was Thursday, and all of Thursday was all kinds of messed up because I thought it was supposed to be Friday. But Friday is here, and dates really don't mean much of anything other than making sure you pay bills and that kind of stuff, show up to meetings on time and all of those things. But, it's a day. It's just a day for us to do things and learn and grow and continue to thrive. So today we're going to go in and jump right into the news because I know that you have other things to do to get yourself ready for the weekend. And so in the first news that I wanted to share with you is the unemployment claims. We have received yet another bout of roughly 1.2 million unemployment claims the first time around, right? So not an ongoing. And as you can see, here's kind of where we are right now. And here are the initial claims, right? And as you can see, we have been kind of steadily going down. We had a little bit of an up in July, and now we're going to go back down. So that's the quite lovely news, is that the new claims are actually, I guess the speed at which they're coming is starting to slow down. And that is always nice piece when we talk and think about those components. However, it also should remain to be something for us to remember, is that there's still many people that are still unemployed, and there are simply no jobs out there. And I'm not saying there's no jobs. There are some jobs that are being created, but nearly not as many to basically get all of these 30-some million people that are unemployed in. And I know I'm saying 30-some million people, and I know that the traditional media is, talking about like teens as opposed to, anything higher. But I'm going off of some of the shadow data that we've talked about here on the channel, where they're talking about many other people that are not necessarily being counted, and the fact that the reports that are coming in are very much contradicting. And so one government agency is telling one thing, another government agency is telling another thing, and they are vastly different. And there is millions of people that are quote unquote missing in action between those reports. So I figured it might be a bit safer to go with the higher number, because I think that might be a bit more accurate number and potentially not as politically driven. But again, everything is politically driven. And so now I'm going to share with you some of the political news, not that I like to get into them, but I think that they make sense and understanding for the economy and kind of what's going on for businesses and that kind of stuff. So that's the reason why I share that stuff. But before we get there was just a recent article that I saw over here that I'm not going to read it, but I'm going to use it to hopefully encourage you to think a little bit differently. So this article right here says, I'm too old to find a new career. Now, I want to stop right there. This is the reason why I brought it up. I'm not going to go into it. If you want to read it, you can. It's on USA Today, and it's in their money section. I'm too old to find a new career. Look, you are never ever too old to get retrained, to find new career, to start things. If you think about it, and this was actually coming as a direct quote from a lady that is, I guess, 57, 58, something like that. So late 50s, right? And while I do acknowledge that in late 50s is not the same as in late 20s, we can all agree to that. I also look at it and say, well, if on average a human lives to late 80s, right, early 90s, at late 70s, that means you still have 30 years. You would never, ever stop somebody who is 10, to want to grow and do stuff because they have to be a certain place by the age of 40, right? So you still have plenty of time. As long as you can breathe, as long as you can get out of bed, as long as you have ability, some sort of cognitive ability to learn things, to remember things, to move your body in some sort of shape or fashion, to get behind the computer and sit watch some videos, to take some notes, you can always retrain yourself. So please don't use that as an excuse. And I know you're looking at this video and you're like, who is this kid talking to me about this stuff? I know I look like I'm in my 20s. But I'm in my 40s, and so I'm telling you, you can retool, you can restart your life, you can change things. People have done it over and over and over again. And if we were just to take one example out of that, let's take a super famous example: KFC, Colonel Sanders, who actually decided in his 60s that he was going to start being an entrepreneur. So if he can do it, we can do it. And you know what? He did not have benefit of the technology and all of the other stuff, ease of access that we all have today. So please get yourself out of that head, out of that space to think that you are too old to do something, that you are too old to learn, to retool, to change, to improve, to try something new. You are never too old to do that kind of stuff. You can always do it. You can always try it. And if you just need to get some inspiration, by all means, watch some movies of like founders and starters. Everybody has a hard life. Everybody has hardship. And it's only a matter of us being better than the hardship coming our way and saying, you know what, I'm going to overcome this because I'm a human and I can. Letting whatever comes our way to take over our lives is not a solution ever. And of course, this pandemic is not easy. It's very rough and it's very challenging. So you have two options, my friends. You can give up and let it win, or you can say, you know what? I'm not giving up. I am going to try and I'm going to die trying, but something will change. And the moment you change this puppy up here, and get committed that you are going to go out there, you're going to do your best, you're going to learn, you're going to try, you're going to retool yourself, you know what? Future is bright for you regardless of how dark it may be outside. So don't ever, ever, ever give up or say you're too old for anything, because that is just a cheap excuse for you to do absolutely nothing. And you know what? Everything has consequences. Whether you try something and fail, it has consequences. Whether you do nothing, you equally fail and equally has consequences. So that's sort of my piece, my rap, my rant, however you want to call it, that is just really meant to get you encouraged to, never ever give up. Never ever, ever give up. The only way that I'm going to give up is if this body evaporates and, they don't find some sort of technology to keep my conscience or whatever, alive and whatever you believe in. But basically what I'm saying is the only way that I'm going to give up is when I perish from this earth. That's it. And when you have that kind of mindset, you can accomplish just about anything in the world. And sure, it's not going to happen overnight, right? And sure, it's not going to happen like the moment you decide, it's not going to happen. It's going to be an uphill battle. My whole life has been an uphill battle. And you know what? At times it gets exhausting and, you're like, oh man, can't I just have something go easy? But if I'm being honest, there are times that do go easy at times, and that's amazing. Celebrate those moments, acknowledge that it's going to be an uphill battle, and every single day, get up and say, let's do this. Let's go. Come on. So that's the reason why I say, let's do this. Let's go. So hopefully that is motivational for you and it's inspiring you. Now, let's go and continue on with the news. And here we go. Part of political, but not really political per se. Trump issues order banning TikTok and WeChat from operating in 45 days if they're not sold by Chinese parent companies. It's political in many ways, but in many ways, it's also something for all of us to acknowledge that the governments do have a right to come up with all kinds of executive orders. I mean, we've seen that. To lock us up in our homes, to prohibit us from doing business, to prohibit us from traveling, to prohibit us from holding certain assets. And the fear of that could happen to stop you in actually going in and starting a business, moving about, trying new things, holding assets, trading, that kind of stuff is silly because they can always change it. So what are you going to do? Sit at home and watch Netflix twiddling your thumbs, right? It doesn't make sense to do that stuff. Of course, every so often, it's kind of nice to sit back and relax. I get it. I'm not, I do it as well, right? Sometimes you're just like, that's it. I'm done. I just need a break. And that's okay. But what I'm saying is I'm using this as a sort of example of, don't be afraid to start something, to get into something, to invest in stuff, to hold the assets just because you're thinking, well, they could prohibit it and they could take it away and stuff. And the reason I'm bringing it up right now is because we're going to be talking about crypto, and that seems to be like the biggest excuse that people use in saying, well, I'm not going to get into cryptocurrencies because government could ban it. Sure, they can ban everything, as you can see. I mean, you saw the laws that they were like, you are in lockdown and police will come in and tuck you in the bed in Australia, right? And you've seen all kinds of different silly laws and rules and stuff that comes up. And some are really silly and some not so silly, right? So you can't necessarily stop living because somebody at some government somewhere will prohibit things from happening. Come on, y'all. Give me a break, right? So you got to change your mindset. You got to change your mindset. I didn't realize that today's episode is going to be super high on mindset to begin with, but I guess that's where we're going because that's what we need to talk about. That's where we need to go. So, we just go where we're desired to go, where we're being told to go, where I'm being moved to move into and go. And of course, then on the other side, then TikTok threatens legal action against the executive order and saying it's a dangerous precedent. And, I agree, there's some dangerous precedents to it, but it is kind of interesting that it's sort of a tit for tat kind of thing. Hold on, water. So, anyways, let me know what you think about the whole thing and whether my little rant about motivation stuff was helpful in the chat if you're watching this live, or in the comments if you're watching a replay on YouTube. And hey, if you're watching replay on YouTube, definitely subscribe and hit that bell button so you get notified every time we go live. And if you like the content so far, if you like my little rant, smash the like button as well. It helps me, it helps the algorithms, and hey, we can spread the message, help many more people, and it doesn't cost you a dime to do it. Okay, now I want to go in and take a look at markets briefly, and then we're going to go a bit more into the crypto world. So here we go. We have Dow Jones Industrial. As you can see, they had an up day on the 5-day spectrum. It's definitely up, and even in a month, it's up. So up, up, up. Very lovely. Same story with S&P 500. As you can see, it's up, up, up as well. NASDAQ Composite, up, 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 right? So NASDAQ has been very much performing incredibly well, and they have been up, up, up around the world. When we look at gold and silver, as you can see, gold spot price is still above 2,000. I think it's slightly lower than we were before. Silver is at 28, and gold-silver ratio, again, is dropping quite a bit. Now, I want to go in and take a look at the top 100 cryptocurrencies by market cap. And as you can see, it's a mostly up day. ETH slightly down, Bitcoin slightly up. Overall, not much movement happening. XRP is back to slot number 3. And yeah, Chainlink has moved back on up within the top 10, and Crypto.com and EOS, Tezos have dropped below the top 10 cryptos. When we look at the change and what's going on in that, we have Balancer is up, winning a whopping almost 21.63%. I was going to say almost 22%, but it's not really. Aave is up 16.71, and we talked about it last week. So congrats if you are holding or hodling some Aave. Ocean Protocol up almost 16%. Elrond up 15%. Aurora up. Decentraland, Bitcoin Cash, Python, Hyperion, Dash, Neem, BitTorrent, Zilliqa are all up. And you can see there's many coins that are up. When we look at the sort of the sideways slash dump movements, we see Bancor is down 6.3, Celsius down 4.6, Midas Touch Gold down almost 4%, Quant down 3.4, Nervous, Ampliford, Cosmos, Ravencoin, Binance Coin, Thorchain, Decreed, DX, VChain, FTX, and so on are down. And then by the time we get to like VChain and FTX and that kind of stuff, it's less than 1% movement whatsoever. So overall, really good day, really good 24 hours for the cryptocurrencies. Of course, we're seeing some that are kind of going down in the altcoin forest, and most of those that we see kind of go down are also the ones that have been pumping quite a bit. So one thing that we can all agree on is that when it pumps on up, it typically kind of comes back down, hits the sort of I don't know, slump or sideways or however you want to take a look at it, and then it kind of continues going up. I did want to bring up a Bitcoin chart just because we're going to be talking about Bitcoin quite a bit. So as you can see, the price of Bitcoin right now is 11,777. Boy, lucky number. Time to get in. Anyways, I wanted to bring up, so here's the year to date of kind of where we were. We've seen this sort of dump piece in March and have been steadily going up, and we've seen this sideways movement slightly down and have started to pick up. This is the year to date. If we take a look at the 1 month, you will see that it's a nice kind of steady-ish going on up. I don't know why it's taking that long to load, but right, so you can see that it's been a snoozer market for a very long time, and now we've actually started and kicked off within Bitcoin. And I do have quite a bit of news about Bitcoin and kind of where we are, so we're going to be covering that in just a moment. Ethereum is another one that I wanted to take a look at. It's just below 400, and as you can see, it has been sort of not much happening in the 3-month period, and then we started the rally on up. And then of course, if we take a look at year to date, you will see something quite lovely. You will notice that we did have sort of a dump, but it's not as prevalent as it was in Bitcoin, which is interesting because in my little eyes, it's starting to make Ethereum a bit more stable to a degree than Bitcoin, but it's a much smaller market cap. So market cap of Ethereum is fraction of what it is for Bitcoin. And here you will see that the price BTC is the orange one. So in case you're wondering why are there two peaks, and then the green one is actually in the dollar. The nice part is if I take a look at Ethereum right here, when we saw the high, look how beautiful this is. And you know how passionate I am about my U formations. Look how beautiful this is right now, and it has a nice potential to be able to really take off. Again, not a financial advice. I can't give those. I don't give those. It's just my viewing of the whole thing. You have got to do your own education, your own research, your own due diligence. And of course, if you need a financial advice, you need to find somebody who is licensed experienced and does what it is that you want to do. But if you're saying, I do need to learn more about crypto, I do need to learn more about how the whole thing works, I invite you then to come to onedealaway.com. Simply go into the on demand or the products, it doesn't matter where you go. Look for Crypto 101 course. It's absolutely free. All you got to do is just basically sign up, because I don't know how to deliver it to you any other way. It's a free course. The moment you enroll, you get that course and you can get on learning. We cover everything from simple thing of what is blockchain and how these things work, all the way to wallets, all the way to how the blockchain works, all the way to how to do some basic technical and fundamental analysis. So it's a chock full information report that is really meant to educate you. And all of the classes, right, individual courses, are bite sized, so they last anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, so that way you can consume it very, very quickly on the go. It is the site is mobile compatible, so you can actually watch it on your phone. You can even plug it in and just listen on the go in your vehicle. Some of the videos you probably want to watch, and I don't recommend you watch that while driving, and that is an advice. So please don't do anything stupid like that. But you can listen to it, for some of the videos, that is the listening component. Okay, now, time to talk about news and why we're so bullish about Bitcoin and what's going on there. Bitcoin user adoption looks to be gathering pace. Picking up pace, maybe? I don't know. The number of Bitcoin addresses holding at least $10 worth of cryptocurrency recently rose to a record high of 16.6 million. This is up 14% from the previous peak of 14.5 million that was reached in January 2018, which is where we were just right there at the peak, and we're nowhere near that piece. So it's one of those things that I think it's important for us to acknowledge, that more and more people seem to be coming in, potentially, but the address growth is not a precise indicator of Bitcoin users, because everybody can have multiple addresses. So you can have 500 addresses if you wanted to. I don't know why you would have 500, but you could if you wanted to. So and it's not unheard of that people will have multiple wallets, meaning they will have multiple addresses as well, and be on multiple exchanges. So it's not unheard of, but it is an interesting, and the data is suggesting a new Bitcoin adoption cycle is brewing, and we could actually see the sort of the chart right here, right? I don't feel like I have to necessarily zoom it in, because it's easy to see that it's going up. We've seen, this is that 2018 right over here. We've come down since the sort of crash. This is January 2019. Then we've come back, hit the same number, went sort of sideways, and we have been going up since then. Adoption has gone up by 27% in the last 4.5 months, which is basically the crash in March, and Bitcoin price has rallied by over 200% by the same time period. So it is up 64% year to date, which is very, very exciting. And then, of course, Bitcoin and gold seem to have benefited from fears and dwindling US dollar. And we've seen the gold price, right? It has been going up. We've seen the Bitcoin price. It has been going up. So looking ahead, their analysts are expecting Bitcoin price to challenge the all-time high of the $20,000 by the end of December. So it should be a very exciting end of summer into fall, into winter, to see what happens with Bitcoin. Price gains could have an exponential effect on user growth, and that of course makes sense, right? We have seen people do that. When something is dumping, fear sets in, everybody goes in, making a dump even further, even faster, even lower. When something starts going up, it starts pumping, then we see people get very excited. More users are coming in, more people are adopting, but then there's also that component of fear that those that have been holding before, right? We always say you want to hold before, allow for the mass to enter because it lifts all boats. Then you can sell a little bit, not everything, but sell a little bit, collect a little bit of cash. It's okay. And then, as it crashes, then you go right back in. So that's the game that we like to play here on Money Matters Show. Now, now they're saying that Bitcoin may have a tough time scaling $12,000 in the short run because there are going to be people that are going to take advantage of the price rise and gains, and they might want to go in and sell. As per Chainless Market Intel, 230,000 Bitcoin worth around $2.6 billion with an on-paper profit of 25% or more were sent to exchanges last week. Now, we don't know whether or how many of these coins were already sold in the Sunday sell-off. Remember, we had that sort of a deep sort of dump of sorts, but we don't know how much of that was that. And of course, right now it's trading at 11,700, which is exactly where we are right now. But we have more news about Bitcoin, so don't go away. Here is a nice chart for you to kind of consume while I have a bit more of hydration. Sorry for the stretch, y'all. I think I might have slept funny. I don't know what it is about humans when we sleep funny. We got to stretch. We're like all kinds of hurting. Maybe that's the sign of my age. I don't know. Let me know. But then I look at my cat and he's like all kinds of pretzel weird position. He gets up, does a little cat stretch, and he is good to go. And I'm like, how do you do that? You got to teach me that secret. Okay. So, first mover advantage. The oldest and largest cryptocurrency rose to 11,755. The price is now approaching $12,000 for the second time in a week. Bloomberg News went so far as to declare in the article Wednesday that Bitcoin mania appears to be almost back in full boom. Bitcoin is seen by many digital asset investors as a hedge against inflation, and many people refer to it as digital gold, right? So I think you will agree with that component and that sentiment potentially, that whether you agree with that particular piece or at least have heard many people refer to it as that. Gold, historically seen as a reliable inflation hedge, surged this week to a new record above 2,000, and it's been holding above 2,000. That's the key piece that we need to remember, that not just only that it has broken, but it's holding kind of steadily, and there's a potential that it will continue to climb. Now, even gold's 35% gain this year is no match for Bitcoin's 63% price increase. Standard & Poor's index 500 index is now up 3% on the year. And of course, out of all of that, Bitcoin is definitely winning. Now, they're saying 63 over here. Previous article said 64. So we could say that it's, maybe between 63 and 64 during the time period. Bitcoin and the crypto markets are once again able to claim independence from the traditional market. And here we have this chart, which actually I have pulled up for your viewing pleasure, and you can see right over here. So start of 2020 is right over here where I'm moving my little cursor thing. I don't know how to draw on the thing. I haven't figured it out yet, but I might. There might be an extension maybe. So let me know in the chat or the comments, please, if you know. I'm gonna have to research that. So you will see the stocks. Here is the stocks, the blue line, and as you can see, and this is, of course, when they say stocks, it's S&P 500 index. So let's be very, very clear of what are we talking about here. And it came kind of down. This is that March. It has been going up, and we're sort of up a little bit, since the beginning of the measurement of where we were, right? Then you have gold, which, as you can see, it dumped way less and has been continued to go up, and it's definitely picking up steam as stocks are sort of flatter, right, as you can see it. And then you have Bitcoin that is, gone up like crazy, has dumped kind of thing, almost before, coming to the bottom before the stocks, and then has been kind of coming up, then went sideways, right? Kind of consolidated. You could see a beautiful triangle forming right over here, right? And then it shot up. So there you go. That's kind of where we are right now. Now, the budget deficit hit this fiscal year is projected to soar to $3.7 trillion. And then, of course, we're talking about the extra benefit laid off and that kind of stuff. So they're basically saying, things are ugly and it's not looking like it's going to get any prettier anytime soon. Bitcoin's long-term value proposition as a hedge against fiat currency debasement only grows stronger. The International Monetary Fund warned this week in a blog post that another bout of global financial stress could trigger more capital flow reversals, currency pressures, and further raise the risk of an external crisis for economies with pre-existing vulnerabilities such as large current account deficits. And you know what? In case you are thinking that that's just United States, I'm sorry to break it to you. That is every single country in the world. Everybody is struggling. Now, some less, some more, some have added benefit of they can actually print their money, right? Because they're reserve currency and they're affected a little bit less. But everybody is experiencing it one way or the other. And typically the developing countries, the countries that are struggling a bit more in a good year, are the ones to go down first, followed by everybody else. But you know what? COVID-19 has changed everything, and it could potentially change this as well. So don't just count on it quite yet. Let's continue. While older investors are buying gold, younger investors are buying Bitcoin. This is a very interesting news that kind of came in, and this is according to Bloomberg News analyst for the U.S. bank JP Morgan. This is kind of what they were writing, and they're saying that, wait a minute, we're seeing something interesting happening. We have older generation, right? I'm going to guess baby boomers who are likely not as comfortable with technology. Sorry, boomers, I'm just guessing that's the case. Perhaps Gen Xers, maybe they're divided. But, they're saying that, wait a minute, younger investors, maybe younger Gen X, definitely millennials, maybe even some Gen Zers are going in and saying, well, I'm going to go jump into the new thing, the Bitcoin thing, the technology thing, the thing that I'm comfortable with, that I can, understand, and I know how to use it, whereas the case might be a bit more challenging for some of the older generations that don't quite understand it and get it. And it's very interesting. Now, I do think that right now, the way that I am kind of processing this, right? I'm a Gen X. So the way that I am kind of processing this is that I can see a bit of a case for just about everything right now. I do see a case for gold. It has been around for centuries. It has protected folks against inflation and high uncertainty, crisis, that kind of stuff for generations, right? So I do see a point of that because, it's kind of like real estate to me, right? It's been there for generations. It's probably going to be there for generations. People will always need a place to live. It's just kind of how we do stuff might shift a little bit here and there, and like appliances that we have and that kind of stuff, right? But homes have existed for forever. It might have been a cave at some point, and now it's like a fancy schmancy, mansion, on the hill now, and as opposed to inside the hill. So, but we've always needed that stuff. Same thing with gold. It was tradable, not always, but for a very, very long time. And so I see a point to it. So I kind of see gold as a bit of a safety and security insurance kind of piece. Then I see real estate, since we talked about real estate yesterday, as this sort of way to preserve and grow my wealth, and also create income from the whole thing, right? And then I have cryptocurrencies, which is basically my sort of gamble or my bet that the future is going to be bright and technology is what is coming in the future. And that's kind of how I see it all playing out. And of course, now as all of the altcoins are developing and happening, there is potential to actually create passive income, get very creative. And really, where I am right now, passionate, is working on developing them. How do we connect all of these puppies together? Because that is exciting and very, very, very interesting piece for me. And there are other companies out there that are doing the exact same thing of how do we create interoperability of the whole things. And I'll mention somebody in just a moment before we are done today. Okay, so CoinMetrics noted that over the past week, Bitcoin has averaged over 1 million daily active addresses for the first time since January 2018. And you can actually see the chart right over here and see that we've actually gone up. It looks like a beautiful city, doesn't it? Arcane Research noted in a report this week that Bitcoin daily trading volumes have been growing strongly, with several days topping $2 billion. The strong momentum in the market continues. And so there you go. That's kind of where we are with this piece. So as you can see, there's a lot of bullishness that is happening. Now, I do want to mention very briefly a very interesting thing that is happening with the Federal Reserve, the Fed Now and the Fed Coin. So I've been saying, this is coming, y'all. This is coming. This is coming. Get yourself ready. And you want to learn right now, and you want to expose yourself to other cryptocurrencies before the Fed Coin comes in. Okay. Federal Reserve is bullish on technologies that aim to speed payments. Is rushing to get its own platform, Fed Now. Federal Reserve Board Governor Brainard, said the U.S. Central Bank will debut its instant payment service as soon as practically possible. Fed Now aims to be the answer, even if it won't arrive until 2023 or 2024. So you have a little bit of time, but don't wait for forever, and don't say I didn't warn you, okay? Fed Now, which is Federal Reserve, is developing in response to private sector real-time gross settlement initiatives play a key part in that future. By creating the neutral platform, banks in partnership with these other companies will be able to offer much more innovative services, and Federal Reserve remains optimistic that emerging payment technologies could benefit consumers. As you can see, they're developing stuff, and you can go and learn, and you should go and learn more about Fed Now. And finally, remember how I was saying the interoperability and all of those things? You might have heard of Polkadot. Polkadot is launching a testnet, Rococo. I don't know. You let me know how you want to pronounce this, but let me share the screen with you, and you let me know. And then, of course, over the weekend, we're actually going to do a little bit deeper dive in Polkadot and learn what it is exactly. But now let's just share the news, get you excited for what this is how we're going to finish, and of course get you excited for tomorrow. So here we go. Polkadot has launched a testnet, Rococo. Is that how you would say it? I don't know. Rococo. I'm gonna call it that. Rococo. Now it's funny to say it. Now I'm cracking myself up. I'm probably gonna go around the house yell Rococo, Rococo. Anyways, Rococo allows developers to register a substrate-based blockchain as part of Polkadot's grander parachain network, and we will talk about Substrate as well tomorrow. So make sure you come back. Substrate is a blockchain building kit for other networks to interoperate as Polkadot parachain. Rococo is the first test of inter-blockchain communication through its relay chain logic. They have launched as a proof of authority network under the governance of Parity Technologies. The testnet will begin with 3 parachains, the firm has said. So, that's just to get you a little bit excited. If you have no clue what we just talked about, you want to come back tomorrow, because we're going to go deeper into Polkadot, deeper into Substrate, deeper into learning and reading about what in the world is proof of authority network, unlike proof of work, of proof of stake, or whatever other proofs that we have seen. So hit me up. Let me know if you have any questions. If you're watching this live, we're going to go into Q&A in a moment. Those of you watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow, but only if you subscribe and hit that bell button and notification. And of course, if you can, join us tomorrow at 7 a.m. only on onedealaway.com/live, where we're going to be discussing this stuff. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the bell, and make sure you come live tomorrow. Until then, stay forever money blessed, and do remember, you are only one deal away.